All right, I just wanted to share this with you for the rotation of the lumbar spine. So what I wanted to do, I need to do it in an anterior oblique so that we can see the Scottie dog of interest. Because of the way that the model is built, it's just easier to see it in an anterior oblique. So notice that the white screen, okay, we'll see the white screen as the bucky, right? So let's just pretend that the patient's standing up at the bucky, because we can do L-spine standing up too. So this is the white part's the bucky. So the way that we see this here is that the patient's left side, see how the ribs are big here, and then the ilium is wide here. So we got elongated ribs, elongated ilium on the left side, meaning that the right arm, this right side, is down towards the bucky. The ilium, their ilium and their ribs, their chest, their left chest is rotated away from the bucky. So this patient is in RAO position. So we're looking at this, we're going to see, so we got to remember what patient's side we're seeing here. So the left side is elongated, left ribs, left ilium are elongated, right side arm is down towards the bucky. So what we're seeing is the dog here. I don't know if you can see the little, here's his transverse process here and his superior articular process here. That would be his ear. This is the inferior articular process, his leg. And then in this area where it looks shadowed, that would be where the pedicle sits. All right, so I'm going to rotate this around so that the patient is their front, their face is facing the bucky, and we'll be looking straight at their back. And then I'm going to rotate the patient back into that RAO position, and I want you to watch the movement of those structures as they turn with the patient, and kind of try to watch those structures come into view. All right, so here we're seeing spinous process. These are the transverse processes. So you're going to watch this one turn into the nose, the dog's nose. So this is our patient's left side, because we're looking at their back, right? So this is their left side. So the side with the arm is their right side. All right, so I'm going to rotate them into an RAO. So I'm going to rotate him so his right arm goes toward the bucky. So if I can rotate it nice and straight for you. And there he is. You see that dog coming into view. Nice open zygapophyseal joint. Okay, now look at that ilium elongated. Rotating. Oopsie. All right. So now we see that when the patient is in an RAO position, we're seeing the left side of interest. RAO, we'd be seeing the left side of interest. Right, so now I'm going to try to kind of see if I can fade one of these lumbar, okay? So I'm going to try to fade this second. Maybe I should choose a different one. Let me choose the third. Let me choose this one because it's more in the middle there. This is the third. I'm going to try to fade it out, try to kind of make it look like an X-ray. All right, so here I go. I'm going to try to zoom in here best I can. All right, so now let me make it look more like an X-ray. There, okay? All right, so now we're still in RAO position. And I'm going to, let me see if I can rotate it. There we go. Okay. All right, so transverse process, the pedicle here, superior articular process, his inferior articular process. Here's his lamina, and here his back. All right, and these are the structures on the other side that's not of interest in this position. Okay, these are those structures that are all superimposed over each other. We've got the spinous process here, superimposed with that inferior articular process on the other side. We've got the transverse process sticking out here. So none of this is of interest right now as we're looking at this image. All right, so RAO, looking at the left side of that vertebra. Left ilium is elongated. Left rib is elongated. So I'm going to try, since I have this shaded, I'm going to try to turn him into an LPO. I don't know if this is going to work out, but let's try it. Okay, L. It's tilting on me. All right, so left side, okay, this is his left side. So now we're looking at our patient, right? We're looking at their front. Their back is on the bucky, which is that white screen behind him. That's the bucky there. So I'm going to try to move him a little bit. You can still see the ilium there. No. Okay. So let me try this. He's already rotated a little bit. Let's put him back AP. Oh, yikes. All right. So AP. So let's look at this. See the pedicle on one side, pedicle on the other side. So left side, patient's left side, patient's right side. We're looking at them now. All right, so we've got transverse process, the pedicles, okay, right side pedicle, right side pedicle, right side transverse process. The left side, obviously, okay, spinous process hanging down here, so you can see this one here. And then this one, like it looks like in an x-ray. All right, so let's put him in an LPO. All right, so we know LPO, posterior obliques, is the side closest to the IR. So we should see the left, which is the one we were just looking at with the patient rotated in RAO. But now it's going to look anatomical position. All right, this one's going to look anatomically because that's the way we're taking it. In the RAO, it didn't look anatomical because we hadn't flipped the patient, because they were in position as if we were standing in the room taking the x-ray of them at that moment. So it wasn't like we were looking at the x-ray in the RAO. So this one's going to look just like the x-ray looks. So I'm going to rotate him into an LPO, that left arm going down towards, and then we know that an LPO rib elongates the left rib. LPO is going to elongate that ilium. See how that left ilium gets elongated as this one rotates up. This area right here, this anterior part of the ilium, is that white line that you see in the images. I keep like drawing your attention to that white line that you can see in the foreshortened one. It's that anterior part of the bone as it keeps as it keeps superimposing. You see how it gets thicker and thicker, and then it makes that white line. It looks like it's folded over. You can see a white line here on your x-ray. You can see a white line here where those structures are superimposed and really thick in that area. So it's another way to look for that foreshortened ilium. So now I'm all out of whack. Let me get it back. All right. Okay, so now let's get him back right. Okay. All right, so now let's go. LPO. Here we go. Okay. So we're seeing the left. I was hoping it wouldn't do that, but it's getting a little funky looking as I rotate it. Doesn't look as good as an x-ray. So we're kind of losing right there. That's the way this is made. You can still see them a little bit here. You can see a little bit of that pedicle, a little bit of that nose. But notice we can't see it here in the other vertebra because it's not an x-ray, right? We can't see through it. And it's what's posterior is what we're looking at. So that's why I had to shade this out. I don't know if let's see if I can shade a couple more. Yeah. Let's see how this one will look faded. And you see the pedicles, kind of, if I go really slow, you can follow those pedicles here. Now, what we want to look for, what's of interest, is that zygapophyseal joint, right? So you see this little line right here? That's the zygapophyseal joint. This is the pedicle. And then a little bit of his transverse process here, this little bit right here. I'm doing that. I'm in the middle, this middle vertebra here. All right, so here's this little transverse, the pedicles in this area. See the zygapophyseal joint here. He's a little turned a little bit different here because we know, right, that obliquity changes as we go down the spine. Less rotation here. You can see that zygapophyseal joint here, pedicle, transverse process. Right, so none of this is of interest. But you notice what's of interest is still superimposed over the vertebra. Right, it's kind of superimposed on top of that vertebra, basically. So you'll see the pedicle on the vertebral body itself. And that's going to be the side that's of interest. The dog that's sitting on top of the vertebra is the dog of interest. So that'd be an LPO for the left side. So I'm going to turn him back in RAO, not to confuse you, but just because it's easier to see, really. Hi. Okay. Come on. Rotate for me, dude. Work with me. RAO. Go back to RAO again. And we can see this one better because we're right there on that side away. Let me get him there. Okay, so you can see the ilium there coming away from the bucky. That's why we can see it better like this. Right, so we can follow the dog here. But remember, we have to flip this and look at it as if it's an LPO. We have to look at, even though we took it like this, we're going to flip the image, and this little guy is going to be pointing towards the left when we look at the actual x-ray. So it's going to look just like the LPO. See, he's still superimposed over the body of the vertebra. Everything else is hanging off the back. Can't really see it on the vertebral body. Right, so what's of interest is actually on the vertebral body itself. So I don't know if maybe that might help you, as far as identifying the image. So when we take our x-ray like this, here's our patient, we took the x-ray, we're going to look at it like this. But unfortunately, this doesn't really show the dog as clearly as we would want it, but you can see he's on the body of the vertebra. So this would be anatomical, looking at that x-ray, the RAO, in an anatomical position, like we're actually looking at the x-ray. So I don't know if this helps at all. We'll look at this together again in lecture tomorrow live, so that you guys can let me know, and then we can try to figure out some other ways to visualize this together. So anyway, I just wanted to go ahead and put this recording up right now for you. So maybe you can look at it tonight, and then we'll talk about it again tomorrow and try some other stuff. All righty, guys. So that's it for that. And I will see you tomorrow. Bye.